inshallah. So when hearing becomes listening. The books are also a purchase outside for $20 a book, inshallah. You can find ourselves or Brother Amadou outside, inshallah. You can purchase a book from us. We'll take Apple Pay, credit card, and so on. A few thank yous. So the program was sponsored by HHRV and Dollar Realty. So a big thank you to our sponsors. And then the lunch is sponsored by a bunch of students in the class. So please remember them and family. We'll be serving lunch in about 30 minutes. We have a pizza from Crispy Dough in Boston. So we'll break, we'll start, we'll break for lunch, and we'll reconvene shortly after for class. Inshallah, you can all enjoy lunch.
You can bring that one back.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah to everyone. Thanks for joining me, inshallah ta'ala, for our first official kind of workshop on my most recent publication, When Hearing Comes Listening. It's kind of a surreal moment because my first book launch for the emotional intelligence book of the Prophet ﷺ was done here at Sharon. And so, alhamdulillah, it's good to be back, inshallah ta'ala. I have a question. Why are you here? Why are you here? Ibrahim, right? Why are you here?
To learn and inshallah to be in good company.
Okay. What do you want to learn? What are you here to learn?
How the Prophet lived his life.
Okay. Sister, why are you here?
Good question, thank you.
Like what brought you?
Yeah.
There's tons of programs you could have did today.
Yeah, so first, a dear friend recommended your book, your second book, because she read the first one. And
Okay.
of course, the topic is interesting.
Okay.
And I was always amazed by the Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam,
Sorry.
way of understanding people, even with the short phrases that they say, he goes beyond the meaning and he understands what they're trying to convey. And then his reply was always in a way that like he actually heard them. So
Okay.
I wanted to, dive deep
Yes,
into that
yes.
and see how I can do that in my life.
Amazing.
Listen to my kids and other people around me.
Amazing. So this is it. This is what we're going to talk about today. So,
Can you use this for who?
yep, that's great. Just put it right here. So this is what we're going to be talking about today. A lot of us, we've studied the Prophet ﷺ Sunnah. We learn about the Sunnah of the Rasul, how he prayed, how he ate. Can we turn the volume on this down just a little bit? Yes, I'm a loud person. So this ain't gonna work. Bismillah, 1, 2. Turn this one down? Yeah. So a lot of us, we've studied the Prophet ﷺ. We've studied, we learned how he prayed. We learned everything about him, how he walked, how he dressed, how he looked. We look at his life as a model. And we also have been taught the importance of human relationships. The Prophet ﷺ taught us that there are two types of rights. There's the rights of God and there's the rights of people. And out of the two types of rights, which one are considered more serious almost? Anyone? The rights of people. Because the sins that we commit against God, Allah can forgive those. But the transgressions we do against other people, Allah can't forgive those. You need actually people to actually forgive those things. And so we have been taught this importance of fulfilling the rights of other people. And here we have this amazing prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, who mastered the relationships with other people. Those around him, whether it's from the relationship of being a father to a daughter. Then you have the Prophet ﷺ being an example. Whether it's a husband to a wife or a brother to another brother. We have this amazing example of this person who was able to master relationships. And so today, what we're going to be studying for the next 2.5 hours or so is I really want to help you learn how to connect to other people in a deeper manner. But I also, here's the key, and this is your intention, Ibrahim. I want you to see this not as some, the American psychology, Western thinking, but rather as a type of your religious duty to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so everything that I've been trying to teach and educate the community on is to ground your human relationships in a prophetic model. right? And so what we're going to be talking about today is we're going to really briefly recap emotional intelligence, just so everyone understands what emotional intelligence is. And then what we're going to go to is we're going to go deeper into the book that is out there for sale right now, the book that some of you have. We're going to start diving deeper into some of these concepts, inshallah ta'ala. So what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to go all the way to the end of this slideshow. And I'm going to start off, don't read, close your eyes. We're going to start off with, don't look, there we go. We're going to start off with here. Emotional intelligence. I'm going to keep this one brief because 4 years ago, you all remember what I talked about 4 years ago, I'm sure. Why would I need to go deeper again into it? What is emotional intelligence? When I say emotional intelligence, what do you think of? Sister, right in the middle there, yes. No, behind, yes. No, you, yes. What is emotional intelligence, please?
The ability to understand other people without by their behavior or their...
Okay, so she said the ability to understand other people. Right? My ability to understand. This brother is listening to me right now. He's feeling the lecture. He's got the posture. He's like, yeah, I'm loving this. This is great. My wife forced me to be here, but who cares? Right? I'm able to read him and understand him. Is your wife here? I told you, see? Exactly. Anyways, the ability to understand other people. But that's not all of it. There's more to it. Someone else, tell me more. Can we close those doors, please? Can we close that door, please? Thank you. What else? There's a whole other side of emotional intelligence. Besides understanding other people. If you want to understand other people, there's something else you need to understand as well.
Reacting on the...
Yourself. And so what I want us to understand is EQ was the tool by which the prophet passed the message on to people. His understanding of the people he interacted with is how he passed on this message. So right now you're wondering, Sheikh Mikaeel, I love it. What does this have to do with my life? Do you have children, sir? Yeah. Okay. Do you have anything you want to pass on to them? Besides financial, economic, material things, do you have knowledge or something that you've learned through your life you want to pass on to them? Then you need today. You need today because the Prophet ﷺ was sent as a messenger, and a messenger has one key element. I have to pass something on. And so my research began by saying, wait, if God gave the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ a message, then he also had to equip him with the understanding of how to get to people's hearts. Right? So part of who he was contained how to connect to people because that's his divine responsibility. And so EQ, emotional intelligence, we're going to go into it. It's the tool by which you pass a message on. A lot of you are sitting here saying, I don't have a message I need to pass on. It doesn't matter. It's about how you connect to other people as well. EQ can all come down to this one acronym. I want you to write this down. This one acronym, ruler. Think about this. All of emotional intelligence comes back to this acronym right here. And I'm going to test you on it for those not taking notes. My brothers in the back, y'all for? I'm going to pick on you all day, Habibi. Ruler. You ready? Number one, what does that say? Recognize. Better recognize back there. No. Recognize. Emotional intelligence is about your ability to recognize emotional changes within yourself and the other person. The ability to recognize those things. I can give you dozens of examples where the Prophet ﷺ is sitting with Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, and she does something and he recognizes the change inside of her. So the first capacity or thing that you want to build within yourself is the ability to recognize emotional changes in people around you. Some of us are completely oblivious to these things. Next one, what's that one say? Understand. There's one thing to recognize that I'm angry. There's one thing to recognize that you're anxious. There's another level of emotional understanding, which is to understand what the source of that is, what's causing that. Do you get what I mean by that? So you're a married man, as we all know here. Can you recognize when your wife is kind of upset? Immediately. We're not going to test you because she can affirm that or not. But not just recognize, can you understand where it's coming from? That's what we want to build. We want to build the capacity to understand where those emotions. Now remember, everything we're saying, we're operating on two levels, the interpersonal and the intrapersonal. Let's go to the next one. These kids are going to give me a hard time. Okay, yes, thank you. All right. Label. There's a saying I want you to know. If you can't name it, you can't tame it. If you can't name it, you can't tame it. What does that mean to you? You're my guy today, I'm sorry. Let me go to the guy next to you. Did your wife drag you here today?
She wasn't able to make it.
But she sent you here. Woo! Hey. Now I'm joking. Label. What does label mean in this realm of emotional intelligence? What does it mean if I say to you, if you can't name it, you can't tame it? What does that mean to you? No wrong answers here. Save space.
I mean, a label is, I see somebody, or you see somebody, you automatically have some feeling, subconsciously just
But we're talking about an emotion, something someone's feeling. So like right now, how are you feeling right now? Tell me what you're feeling. Be vulnerable with us. How are you feeling?
I'm excited to be here.
You're excited. Perfect. You were able to label it. So what we want to build in our emotional intelligence is an emotional vocabulary. We want to learn how to label what we're feeling, what other people are feeling. And we find this in the Sunnah of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him. He was able to label what people around him were going through. Because once you can label it, now you can work to better it, you can work to fix it, you can work to tame that. If you can't name it, you can't tame it. Next thing, remember, hey guys, go back. We're dealing with this acronym right here. This is your acronym for emotional intelligence. This is your acronym. What does R stand for? Sister. Recognize. What does U stand for? Brother.
Understand.
What does L stand for? Brother in the blue.
Label.
Label. And what does E stand for? Express. Express. A lot of us keep it all in. A lot of us keep it all in. And when we look at the Prophet ﷺ, are you ready for this? He taught us to express what we feel. Are you ready? I'm gonna make it awkward for you. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, when you love a brother, brothers, tell him that you love him. Y'all too. Do you know that dude next to you? You know him? No, but I'm talking about those guys. You know him?
Yeah.
You love that brother? Alright, look in his eyes. Say, yo, I love you, bro.
I love you, bro.
There you go. Brian, do you know Hamza from before?
Just now, yeah, met him today.
Met him today. But you love him for the sake of Allah. Look him in his eyes. Don't break eye contact. I love you. That's prophetic. MashaAllah. MashaAllah. I'm proud of you guys. It's not easy to do. Some of you guys are like, I'm glad you didn't call on me. Especially the brother with the glasses here. Assalamu alaikum. You're very low key. Did your wife bring you here today? Not yet? Okay. You're just trying to get reconnaissance, learn this stuff low key? Love it, love it, love it. No, why do I share that with you? Because the Prophet ﷺ himself taught us this right here. He taught us this expression. Say what you feel, express it, share it. Say I love you. And that's what we just did right now. It's very difficult for some people to get that out. And especially certain cultures in this room right here, we don't say those words. We don't express that. And it gets really tough because some of us have grown up, and as long as we have been raised, we've never heard our dad say, I love you. But that's not sunnah, that's something he has, baggage he has. The sunnah of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is to express feelings when they're there. Questions or comments on this? Cool. Let's go forward. Yeah, so this is a tough one. So the Prophet ﷺ, what's so amazing is he was really introduced to a really rough society. And as we're going to talk about different type of attachment models, he was interacting with people that had an avoidant attachment model. They didn't express emotions. They didn't like emotions. Emotions were not what men dealt with. Unfortunately, we've regressed back to that type of mentality. And the Prophet ﷺ had a very difficult job to do. Part of his job was to come into this society of very macho, non-expressive, non-emotive men and teach them to love and feel again. To teach them in love to love and feel again. And I was talking with one of the doctors in the room today, and I mentioned it in the book. There's a section called Creating Silence Within Yourself. And one of the best examples of the Prophet's ability to teach people to love again is one particular companion. Who can you think of? Umar radiallahu ta'ala an, as you'll read, he had a lot of trauma. He himself says, my father was extremely abusive. And he worked me like a dog. He says this. And when you read about the earlier Umar who was all tough and rough, a lot of people like to quote that Umar. Well, that Umar was the Umar that was still working through things. But the Umar that he became a very gentle Umar. Gentle doesn't mean soft. Because every emotion has a place where it needs to be expressed. So what we're discovering here is that the Prophet ﷺ, he was introduced to these people that were very rough, and they actually bragged about how coarse their hearts were. And so I have an example here where the Prophet's grandson Ibrahim passed away. What would a parent do if their son, what's the natural emotional reaction to the passing of your child? What's the natural reaction? Heartache, tears. When Ibrahim passed away, Abdurrahman saw him crying and he said, what is that, Ya Rasulullah? He was crying and he asked, what is that? What is what, guys? Tears. As if to say, that's really strange. You know what the Prophet said? Again, I want you to understand, he's reshifting the narrative on masculinity. He says, this is mercy of God. This is mercy. Is it weakness? No, it's mercy. It's mercy. And another example is this, or this is the issue I was just talking about. Men at his time saw the expression of emotion as weakness. Vulnerability is not weakness in the right places. And that's what the Prophet ﷺ taught us. Can you think of a moment when the Prophet was vulnerable with one of his wives? He expressed his own inability. Come on, work with me. One at a time.
When he got the revelation, he was obviously vulnerable.
I'm going to so come back to that one. That is the best example. We will come back to that. I'll really briefly share it is when Revelation first came. We're going to come back. That is such an example. We will revisit that. Can I share one that came to me? You said one, right? Yes, that was the one I was thinking. Let me tell you the incident. The Prophet ﷺ saw a dream that they were going to go for lesser pilgrimage to Mecca. These people hadn't been to Mecca in 7 years almost. They desired nothing more than to go back to Mecca. They set out on the way to Mecca. Long story short, they end up having to sign a treaty that they can't go to Mecca. The Prophet ﷺ tells this group of 1,400 people, sorry, no trip to Mecca. Shave your head, slaughter your animal, we're going back. Are you ready now? He tells everyone to do it and no one does a thing. He says, hey everyone that listens to him, shave your head and slaughter your animals, we're not going to Mecca. No one moved, pin drop silence. He walks back into his tent to wifey and he's like pacing. She's like, what's wrong? Did he say, oh, nothing, I got it figured out, don't worry, I'll figure it out. This is what I want to highlight. The person we see as the epitome of masculinity, he said, I don't know what to do. Brothers, sons, fathers, mothers, he said, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. She said, tell me the problem. This is the key. Are you able to be vulnerable? See, it depends. Good. What does it depend on? Maybe we can dive into that. Good. Interesting. What it depends on for me is who it's with. See, a lot of us have learned to be very vulnerable with people we don't even know. But we clam up with people that are closest to us. We'll come to that later. She gives him advice. He acts on the advice. And things work out for the better. So the reason I brought this up is, again, I want you to redefine what it means to show emotion and see that the Prophet ﷺ was dealing with people that they had no idea what he was doing and his redefining of masculinity. His name was Aqra bin Habis. He saw the Prophet pick up his grandson, hug him and kiss him. And the man, he looks at the Prophet Muhammad and he goes, I got 10 sons, I never kissed one of them. Popped his collar maybe, you know? And so he's flexing. He's flexing. He's trying to say, I got 10 sons, I've never showed emotion. None of my 10 sons broke my hard shell. That's what he's basically saying. I got 10 sons, I never kissed one. If I had 20, I'd probably never kiss them. He thinks this is a flex, as the young guys say, right? The Prophet ﷺ, but he's changing society. And the reason he's changing, please listen to this point. Listen very closely. These people around him have to take the message to another group of people. Until they can feel empathy, they can't be qualified to be custodians of the message. You got to get what I'm saying. This is so critical. Until they learn to feel another person's pain, you're not allowed to pass on this message. Because you won't do it with emotional intelligence. You'll drop it out like a mailman at someone's doorstep and say, accept it or not. It's up to you. Are you with me, Ibrahim? You feel what I'm saying? Questions or comments? Okay, 3 hours monologue, I'll be dead. Dialogue, I love dialogue. Whenever you speak, I'm like, say more, please. Yes?
What was the advice of the wife? How did they solve that problem?
Oh, okay, yeah, so that's easy. She said, Ya Rasulullah, that's a great question. Because it shows her understanding of people. She says, Ya Rasulullah, their hearts hurt, they're sad. Just go outside and do it, they will do what you do. And he did it, and they did it. But she understood the people, she understood her husband, and she gave the advice for things to move forward. Any other questions what we're learning up till now? Now, why is this so important? Hey, let's go back. Why is this important today? What did I just say? I said something very deep that really resonated with me, and I hope you got it. Omar was not qualified to pass the message on until he developed the quality of empathy inside. Do you understand? Because if I don't understand you and empathize with you, then again, I serve the function as a mailman, not a prophet, not a messenger. Does that make sense? I haven't seen the haptic. I didn't get the feedback yet, so I'm going to dig deeper on this one. Have you ever heard someone say about a relative that's not praying, yeah, but I told her to pray. I told her the reward of praying. Or I told her the reward of wearing a scarf. Or I told him this thing is haram. You ever heard that as a frustration? As if we're computers who just input data and outcome response. The way we operate is quite more emotionally. It's not just about the information. Have you ever seen the back of a cigarette say anything about cancer? They still sell them. It isn't information that drives us. It's not here that drives us, but what we call gut, feeling, heart. Are you with me? Are you with me? Okay. Questions, comments? East Coast. East Coast is, whew. Y'all need to come to Texas, okay? Relax a bit. Stop hustling. Stop running around all fast and chill. Be around that southern, bless your heart vibes, you know what I mean? Way too uptight at East Coast, yes. Yes.
I mean, that's kind of the difference between an involved parent, right? As opposed to saying, do as I say, not as I do.
Okay.
Or are you leading by example and joining your children in their Dora Ibadah so that they learn and they do together? As you're building your own community and your own ethos within your home and your family, which is basically what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had to do in order to get everyone around and to join in. Hands-on. It's not.
Agreed. I want to push you further though. I have found proof in the teachings like of the Sunnah that it wasn't just the ethos only, and I agree wholeheartedly. But he changed hearts before rulings came. So hear me out. Listen. Hear me out on this. This is in Sahih Bukhari. Are you ready? Aisha, our mother, she says. This is in Bukhari. She goes, the very first thing to be revealed were the verses of Quran about heaven and hell, until people's hearts became firm, and then halal and haram came down. She says, not my words, are you ready? If the first thing revealed was don't drink alcohol, the people would have said we'll never stop. These people who became our iconic best generation, she says about them, that if the ruling had just been told to them before the emotional desire for it had been created or built, they would have said, no, I'm never going to stop drinking alcohol. So what I'm trying to get you to do is before you tell your daughter to put on a scarf, why don't you teach her about heaven and hell or Jannah and create a love of Allah in her heart first? The emotional build is the first thing. That's the first thing, but because we didn't learn it that way, we don't pass it on that way. And so what I'm trying to tell you is if you want to be a custodian of anything, if you want to cause change in someone's life, it's not information that changes, but the gut reflex that changes. And once you create a love or a hatred, it's easy as cake. It's nothing. Once there's love, people are like, what can I do next, Imam? I'm like, there's tahajjud. They're like, okay, cool. But if there's no love, you're like, hey, there's 5 prayers. Like, 5? So create the love, the emotion. And that's what causes the change. But again, we're talking love, we're talking hate, we're talking feeling. It's easier for me to just tell you it's haram, you know. Son is haram. Why? Because I said so. Down. You feel me? Questions, comments? So, he had to take these rough men and rough women and teach them how to love and feel again. Because in order to pass on the message, you have to build open receptivity, and that means emotional change first. Let's go forward. But hey, we aren't run by emotions. Like that little Disney flick Inside Out, we're not run by emotions. You know what I'm talking about? You guys don't have little kids, okay. I'm going to share a hadith with you. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, you ready? إِنَّ الْعَيْنَ تَدْمَعْ, indeed the eye will cry. وَالْقَلْبِ يَحْزَنْ, and the heart will be hurt. وَلَا نَقُولُ إِلَّا مَا يَرْضَى رَبَّنَا, but we will only say what pleases God. Can I tell you the context? The context was the passing away, I believe, of Ibrahim, his son. And he was crying. He was crying because that's what men do when their children pass away, they cry. And people ask them, what's going on? What is this show of emotions? He says eyes are supposed to cry. That's normal. Hearts are supposed to hurt in these moments. That's normal. That teaches us pain is not to be avoided, but it's experienced. It's a human aspect of life. Joy, pain, happiness, sadness. It's not to be avoided. It makes us life what it is. But then he says the most profound part of it. He goes, but emotions don't control us. We only say what pleases God. So this is what Islam is teaching. There's this beautiful overlap, which is, yes, you experience the emotions, but you, the aql, the mind, the brain, is controlling all those things. And you know why I have to say this? A lot of our cultures, when someone in the family passes away, it's not every culture in the room, but some of them, the men put this front on as if there's no pain. And you gotta keep it together. You can't cry, you gotta keep it in. There was a young man, a young influencer, a brother who I knew from a certain community, and he said, Sheikh, my grandmother passed away and she was so close to me, but when she passed away and I started to cry, my father nudged me and he said, stop, hold it and stop. And I said to him, I'm sorry, that's not the sunnah. That's not Islam. And you have to bring the next generation of empathetic Muslims to your community. Everyone with me? All right. So that's regulation. And as I said before, everything that we're talking about from the ruler all the way back there. What is emotional intelligence? Just remember ruler and you got it. All of it refers to two relationships. You within yourself. Recognize, understand, label, express, and regulate. And you with other people. Recognize, understand, label, so that you can help. Express, help them express. Help them regulate as well. Yes?
So we talked about understanding, labeling, and then expressing, but sometimes it's very difficult when people belong to, let's say, different cultures, or they belong to different, economic backgrounds. So human beings are complex machines, the complex emotional stature they have. So how to, connect when there is a big difference, because we only understand what we experience. Something we didn't experience before, how we can tackle those situations.
Okay. Well, we're jumping the gun a little. I love the question. If you have the book in front of you, if you don't, you better go buy one. No, just joking. Not really. So on page 80, there's a Venn diagram of one person's field of experience and another person's field of experience. And so what we're doing in communication and listening, today's talk is about listening for the rest of the program. When I become a good listener to you, what happens is the more time I invest listening deeply to Ibrahim or to you, I start to learn his lingo, his language, his emotions, his feelings. My field of experience prior to conversation and intimate dialogue is completely separate from his field of experience. I'm an African American, grew up in Buffalo, New York, converted at the age of 18, blah, 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 blah. That makes me who I am. Ibrahim is another human being from a completely different thing. But what's amazing, and I want you to take this serious, what's amazing is the ability for two human beings to combine in such a way that they almost become one. Almost become one. I can give you an example. Are you ready? It was only a few days before the Prophet ﷺ was going to pass away. The Prophet ﷺ, he went up onto the minbar and he gave a lecture. And in that lecture he said, a man has been given a choice to go forward or to stay behind, and he chose to go forward. In the back of the masjid, someone began to weep like a baby. Ibrahim, do you know who that was? Abu Bakr was weeping. He was weeping like a baby, but no one else was. Why was no one else weeping the way he was? They did not get the message. but he did. My question is, why did he get it? Why did he get it? Why did he get it when no one else did? There we go. Now we have connection. Because the fields of experience had overlapped so much, they became like one person. Can I prove that to you more? No. When the Treaty of Hudaybiyah happened and we had to not go to Mecca and we ended up going back, Umar was upset. He went up to the Prophet and he said, aren't you a true prophet? Isn't Islam true? Aren't we on the truth? Didn't you say we are going to come? And the Prophet gave an answer to each thing. He said, yes, I'm a prophet. Yes, this is true. Did I say we're going to go this year? Umar was like, man, what's going on? He runs over to Abu Bakr. He asks him the same question. Do you know what happened? Abu Bakr said the exact same answers that the Prophet said. Don't you love it when your kids come to one parent and they're like, Daddy, can I have ice cream? And Daddy's like, no, your teeth's going to get messed up. And then they run to Mom and they're like, hey, Mom, can I get ice cream? And Mommy didn't even hear Daddy. She goes, nope, your teeth's going to get messed up. Yes. We're on the same page. Our fields of expression and experience have become one, despite the fact that you're from the subcontinent and she's from somewhere else. You spent so much time investing in each other that you understand each other. And your field of experience becomes one. So the fact that our communities are so diverse, it only means one thing. We have to spend more time together, breaking bread together, speaking to one another, understanding one another, or else we're going to ruin the community. Can I tell you a funny joke? It's not even funny, but it's funny. You ready? New dude, he just became Muslim. Brian, you'll love this. New dude just became Muslim. All right? I was in Buffalo. Buffalo's a really hood place. It ain't Sharon. It ain't Sharon. So somebody, there was a brother who was walking to the masjid, Ibrahim, and he got mugged, okay? It's pretty bad, right? Old dude, too. He's okay, all right? He's okay. So this one guy walks into the masjid, it's Fajr time. He walks into the masjid, Desi guy, older guy. He walks into the masjid, frantic. I'm sitting in the masjid with a convert dude. He's probably been Muslim for like 4 weeks, max. This guy just started learning the lingo. MashaAllah, Inshallah, Alhamdulillah. Brian knows where this is going. So the guy runs into the masjid, I'm sitting down. He goes, Imam Sahib. Brother Abdullah just got mugged outside. The convert sitting next to me, he goes, MashaAllah. MashaAllah. Oh my God. I'm like, I understand his language, and I also understand how that guy heard it. I'm like, damn it, control time. Here we go. He goes, how dare you? Astaghfirullah. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Astaghfirullah. I'm like, Bhaijan, he didn't mean that. Da, da, da. Yes, it just takes more investment. It just takes more investment. It just takes more time together so that we understand each other's language. He didn't mean, mashallah, like I hope somebody else gets mugged. He meant, man, he actually meant probably like, la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. But he didn't know what to say. But I knew how to understand what he said. And that's what we have to become because of the diversity of our communities. We have to become those that can interpret. Because our country is a melting pot and people keep getting off those planes. And they will. So you have to reteach and teach people to understand other people's norms. So yes, your question was amazing. And it's on page 880 of a book that's for sale outside. Any other questions or comments? We haven't even gotten to the new book yet, yo. We got a lot before us, inshallah. What are the two barriers to connection? Huh? What are the two barriers to connection? Yeah, grab it. Avoidance. Somebody reaches out to you, too busy. Often too busy just means I really don't feel like emotionally connected. Dad, I need to talk to you about something. Mom, I need to talk to you about something. Avoidance, number one. Heedlessness. I had no idea my wife was going through depression. Are you kidding me? How long were you living in that house? How were you so oblivious? And he literally did not notice. Because he was just in his own world. Moving to next deadline, to the next deadline, to the next deadline. For the relationship flatlined. We're going to take a break. We're going to take a break. And we'll continue after lunch. So don't leave. We still got a lot to do.
Assalamu alaikum. So the food is in the hallway. We're just going to have the sisters go first and then the brothers right after. Please make dua for the student who donated for this lunch. Jazakallah. So we'll take only a 10-minute break. So if you want, you can. And the Sheikh requested you to keep your questions for the end of the class so that he can go through his class. So 10-minute break and then we can resume right after. Jazakallah.
অন্য কিছু আছে আর চিপ
They're selling it on site, right here.
Look at your friends.
But it looks amazing.
alaikum. So we have extra pizza. So you've only had one slice. Please go grab some more, inshallah. So we've only had one slice. Please go grab some more. If you're on your third and fourth slice, I think you hit your quota. But if you've had one slice, please go grab some more, inshallah.
It's only the head. No, Joe. Oh my god, it's live. Yo, people watching. Let's go. People like. Okay. Who's live on TV? Was he actually on there? No, you're only on the head like this much. Well, that was tiring. But I don't want them actually, then they might tell my dad. He's coughing. Seku. Yes, he might tell my dad because they know me. Huh? They know me. I'm thinking my dad. So they know me. Huh? They might tell my dad that I did that. So it's not a big deal. Nah, it's not me. Yes, it's on. Go ahead. Is it actually live? I don't think it's live. Oh yeah, it's live. Here you go. I want to see you live. I want to see you live. Yeah. Come on, go. Water bottle.
Assalamu alaikum. We're going to restart inshallah in 2 minutes. So meanwhile, until people come back, we're going to hear some Quran from one of our youth inshallah.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الرحمن علم القرآن خلق الإنسان علمه البيان. الشمس والقمر بحسبان والنجم والشجر يسجدان والسماء رفعها ووضع الميزان ألا تطغوا في الميزان وأقيموا الوزن بالقسط ولا تخسروا الميزان والأرض وضعها للأنام فيها فاكهة والنخل ذات الأكمام والحب ذو العصف والريحان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان خلق الإنسان من صلصال كالفخار وخلق الجان من مارج من نار فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان رب المشرقين ورب المغربين فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان مرج البحرين يلتقيان بينهما برزخ لا يبغيان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان يخرج منهما اللؤلؤ والمرجان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان وله الجوار المنشآت في البحر كالأعلام فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان كل من عليها فان ويبقى وجه ربك ذو الجلال والإكرام فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان صدق الله العظيم.
MashaAllah, Allahu Akbar. Very nice voice and solid memorization and recitation. Jazakallah khairan. I think we're ready for the Shaykh, inshallah.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Salatu wassalam ala Sayyidina wa Nabiyyina wa Mawlana Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. Bismillah. Okay, so now we're going to take this to the next level, inshallah ta'ala. And the topic of the most recent, before we go forward, are there any questions or comments? You've had enough time to kind of sit on these concepts and ideas. Are there any questions or comments based on anything we've covered so far? Please don't be shy. Yes.
So considering everything that you've already said about being vulnerable, the situation where you can be safe and who you're vulnerable with, like the importance of the softness. And of course you're covering ways to be more emotionally intelligent.
Yeah. Whoa. Sorry.
What about people who empathy doesn't come to them naturally? And this is not, and you had mentioned the people who had hard hearts.
Yeah.
And the way that we soften them was we talked about heaven and hell, and then so on and so forth. So there's a method to softening one's heart, right?
Yes.
But what about the people who, due to their situation, their upbringing, whatever it may be, empathy is, you have to force empathy. It doesn't come naturally. You're at like, you're at the end of your fuse, whether it's work, kids, whatever, put together. And what are some practical daily exercises that you can recommend where you're more empathetic with your children, you do want to do the serve and return something,
Okay.
like, you want to be better.
Yeah, okay, so the question being asked is, you're a person that doesn't do well with other people's pain and difficulties, listening to other people's problems, listening to other people's issues, empathizing with people. What can you do? Now, I like that you said, what can you do? Because you didn't say what some of us like to say, which is, oh, that's just who I am. That's just who I am. I'm an angry person. That's just who I am. I don't feel stuff for people. Excuse me, no, that's not acceptable. We don't accept things that are not like the things that our deen wants us to have. And it is definitely an ideal in your deen that you're able to feel other people's pain, because that's a prophetic quality. And so let's begin with this. Is everyone with me? Let's begin with this. Some of you may have been here for khutbah yesterday. Some of you may not have been here. So I'm going to share something with you to begin this topic, inshallah. And it segues straight from you to what we're going to talk about right now. There's a young boy. There's a young man, 17, 18, or 19, and he comes to the Prophet ﷺ, and he says to the Prophet ﷺ that my father wants to take all my money away from me. My father is trying to take my money away from me, and it's not fair. And the Prophet ﷺ, he served this role as a judge in the society as well. So So the prophet says, okay, bring your father here so that, I can adjudicate in this matter. And when the man comes, while they're on their way, the angel Gabriel comes to the Prophet ﷺ, and he says to him that when that man comes, and those two people come, ask the man to share the poetry he was saying in his heart as he was coming. And so they arrive before the Prophet ﷺ, and the Prophet, they're about to present their case, and the Prophet says, wait 1 second, hold up. Before you say anything, sir, on your way here, you were saying poetry to yourself about this situation. Can you please share those lines that you were saying? And the man is dumbstruck. He's completely caught off guard that Ya Rasulullah, how did you even know? He says, my own ears did not hear me. My own ears did not hear me. How do you know? And the Prophet ﷺ, he says these words to the man. He says, قُلْ وَأَنَا أَسْمَعُ. He says to him, speak, I'll listen to you. Speak, I will listen to you. And the man begins to share these beautiful lines of poetry. And they go down in the books of literature, of just most beautiful words of poetry. And the Prophet listens to this man. And by the time he's done, the Prophet is weeping. Now, you have to understand something. The Prophet's tears are serving the function of redefining the ideal masculinity and teaching us what we need to become. His tears speak volumes in that moment. Now, he's crying. And after that moment, he says to the boy and the man, he says, stand up, get out of here. You and your money belong to your father. And there's no fiqh ruling that we're pulling from this or anything like that. But rather what we need to focus on in this moment is the Prophet's willingness to hear and take in somebody else's issues. And what's happening now is we've become so fast-paced that I don't have time to listen to my own kids' issues, let alone my neighbor. Who's my neighbor? I don't even know you. Person in the masjid. And this is what I said in the halaqah yesterday. I said, if you walk up to a sister, you say, how are you doing? And she actually starts to tell you, you're like, man, you misunderstood that, right? You were supposed to say, alhamdulillah. Let's run that back. How are you? Oh, alhamdulillah. Okay, cool. Assalamu alaikum. Because we don't really want people to emote and tell us how they're feeling. And the reason is because whenever we truly listen to someone's pain, we take a share of that inside on ourselves. So here's the issue. In this room right now, there are some people who are everyone's pillow. There are certain people in this masjid, everybody calls them when they need someone to talk to. And there are some people who no one can talk to. They listen to no one. The Prophet ﷺ was further on the other side, where Allah had to tell him, don't worry so much. Not on the side of not, dealing with what other people are feeling. So I will talk about today some practical things that we can do, okay? We will go over some practical things. Alright, so Bismillah, what we're going to talk about now is the concept of listening. The primary thing that we've been talking about up till now is just what is emotional intelligence. Now, the book that many of you have in front of you, where did it come from? It came because I wrote this first book on emotional intelligence, and everyone was asking me, how do I become more emotionally intelligent? And I said, well, you have to start listening to the people around you. You have to start wanting to hear what they have to say and connecting to them. And so that's where the idea of prophetic listening came from. Imam Ghazali, he says that the most intelligent of God's creation was the Prophet ﷺ. And this led me to think or question, what does it mean to be intelligent? What does it mean to be intelligent? So, when we talk about the Messenger of Allah ﷺ, one thing that we realize right away, and I need you to pay attention to this slide right here, that the messenger is the message. What does that mean? When a mailman comes to your house and delivers you something, the mailman has nothing to do with the actual message that he's giving you. His job is to drop it. It doesn't matter how he looks, how he's dressed, but just drop it there at the door. But the Prophet ﷺ is quite different. How so? That he is the message too. So that means when we want to study Islam and we want to study the deen of Islam, part of that means studying who he was, how he carried himself, how he interacted with people, so on and so forth. I want you to read this. Who wants to read this for me? Right there. This brother. Did you get a book yet?
I did actually.
Okay.
Whoever contemplates the Prophet's excellent management of the Arab, who were like wild and scattered beasts, who had repulsive and aloof natures, and how he had led them and more patiently with their boorishness and harms until they began to follow him, and rally under him and fight against their own families and fathers and sons for his sake.
Stop there. There's more to read. What words stick out to you in this paragraph? What are the key words for you? Oh, Naveed, come on, tell me.
Excellence.
Excellence, okay. Over here, I heard something.
Management.
Imam Suhail was a great scholar of our Islamic history. And he's summarizing what makes the Prophet ﷺ so great. And he says that what makes him so amazing, oh here, for reading. You already bought a book, but it's for you, inshallah. Whoever contemplates how he dealt with really rough people. It's easy to live in the suburbs, y'all. It's harder to live amongst rough people with drug problems, money problems, issues. He was sent to this city of rough people, tough people, issues. But what did he do? He lived with them. He connected to them. And he connected them with them to the point that, and look what, this isn't a contemporary scholar. This is a scholar from over 400 years ago analyzing the Prophet's situation. He says, look at these people. He says, they were like wild, scattered beasts. They were like wild, scattered beasts. And how he led them and was patient with them. Until, now this is what I want you to focus on. My pointer is working now. Yes, there we go. Yes, here. They began to follow him and rally under him and fight against their own families. Hold up. Is that good? Is that good? Why are we celebrating them fighting against their own families? Either one of you. Yeah, so what they're learning, but why is that so specific to them? To them, family ties were more than anything. These were very tribal people, Bloods and Crips. Family ties is the biggest thing. I don't care if my family's wrong, I'm going to stand up for them. Who cares? It's my family. But he began to impact them in such a deep way that there was a complete transformation. Finish it off. Go ahead. Read nice and loud. You better earn that book.
And how they preferred him over their own selves and emigrated from their homelands and beloved.
They left Mecca. They started to do what they didn't like to do, go against their own self. They changed so much. Go ahead.
Beloveds for his pleasure. Indeed, if you contemplate these things, you will come to the realization that he is the most
intelligent. How are we quantifying? How are you quantifying intelligence in your life? Because according to Imam Suhawardiyu, the thing that makes the Prophet the most intelligent person is that he was able to manage, interact, and cause a change in people's lives. He was able to cause a change in people's lives. Transformation through connection. He transformed them by connecting to them. Look at this verse. وَلَوْ كُنْتَ فَضًّا غَلِيظَ الْقَلْبِ لَانفَضُّوا مِنْ حَوْلِكَ. The Prophet ﷺ in this verse is told by God, وَلَوْ كُنْتَ, if you had been فَضًّا غَلِيظ, harsh, hard-hearted, then the people would flee from you. What is Allah teaching the Prophet in this verse? What's the lesson? Like, if you could summarize, what's the topic here? No wrong thing, I just want to feel you up. Like, what are you getting from this verse? Who's the addressee? The Prophet is the addressee. What's the objective of this verse? Is to teach him something for what cause?
Don't change how you are. Don't lose that mercy see that kindness, that gentleness.
That's beautiful. He said, don't lose your gentleness, your kindness, interacting with these rough people. Okay? You know what I see here? The Prophet ﷺ is also being taught how to keep connection with people and keep them close to him. So we find that Allah is teaching the Prophet ﷺ the importance of keeping people close to you. If you are a person, let me make it clear for you. If you walk in the house and everyone scatters to their room, you're not following the Prophet's way. Now does it make sense? If you walk in the house and everybody's like, Dad's here, I'm out, yo. Mom's here, I'm out. Make sense? But if you walk in the house and you remember what it was like, my kids are 10, 9, 10, 8, I don't know, man, anymore. 10, 8, 7. There we go, something like that. Alhamdulillah, I walk in and they just like run to the door. Remember that? No?
Well, not there yet.
Not there. I've told when they get to like a little older, it's like whatever, Dad's here. But right now they're running to the door. It's an amazing feeling. I feel like what we're being told here is like, who are you when you walk into work? Who are you? Where they're like, Brian's here, oh God. You know? Are they, hey, Brian's here. Who are you when you walk into class? Who are you when you walk into the house? Now you may say, hey, I have to lay down the law here, you know. Who's being spoken to here? The lawgiver. In Islamic law, we call the Prophet the Shari', the giver of law. But yet, in order to pass on the rules by which people are going to live by, he's told, don't be harsh, be gentle, bring them in. Questions, comments before we go to the next one? Connect to people is the message. You have a job to transform, change people, you got to connect to them. And you can shape people through connection. And that's what I want you to learn today. You can shape people through your connection with them. Okay, everyone right now, think of a moment from the Prophet's life that just has always stuck with you. Take 10 seconds, think of a moment. You ready? Okay, I'm going to call on someone. Ready? Ready? Sister, yes. Yes. Oh, you need more time. Yes, go. Oh, why you gotta go there, yo? Okay. She went to like so she made my life hard. She gave an example that, and I'll put this on the thing right now. She gave an example where the Prophet was sitting in the house of Aisha. And Safiya, his other wife, was an amazing cook. Amazing cook. Prophet's chilling with Aisha. Safiya sends food over. And as the servant's walking with the food, Aisha's like, and knocks the food on the ground. Pop breaks food everywhere. Prophet smiles, he kneels down, putting it back together. And he says, your mother got jealous, So the reason I asked you that is I have found this, and you gave me a great example. Every moment from his life, I've done this multiple times. Every person I ask, if I was to ask you your moment, it would show connection. That moment speaks of connection to me. He understood Aisha, what she was going through in that moment. He understood Safiya, what she was going through. He understood what the room needed in that moment. So what I'm trying to do up till now is I want you to realize and understand that his life is all about connection to people, because that's how you're going to cause change in society. Now we're talking about society, okay? Medina was a new society. It was a new city. The first time the Prophet ﷺ walked into Medina, one of the Sahaba, he says, the first time the Prophet entered Medina, I heard him saying, three things, or four. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, Afsha salam. Say a lot of peace. Assalamu alaikum, assalamu alaikum. Wa at'imu ta'am. Feed people food. Wasilul arham. Connect the families. Connect to one another. And last but not least, pray at night when nasu niyam, while people are sleeping. In my estimation, the Prophet has set before us the hierarchy of needs of an Islamic civilization. What do we need? Well, we need peace. We need food. We need prayer. We need connection. Well, I have a question for you. What would you call a person who took away the peace and security of a community? It's criminal, it's wrong. Tyrant. What would you call a person who deprives people of food that they need? Criminal, tyrant, wrong. What would you call a person who stops people from praying in masjids, or churches, or synagogues? Oppressive. So I bring you back to this. What would you call the person who severed the relationships and didn't allow us to connect as we need to be connected? The reason I bring this up is we all understand how important these three are. These three. But for some reason, we don't realize how essential it is to our human composition to need connection to other people. So here's the deal. You ready? We're going to get serious now. From the moment we come into this world, we are literally connected to another human being. Literally coming into the world. I cannot forget that day. It happened 3 times in my life, but I have 3 kids. When I saw that child come into the world, connected through the umbilical cord to its mother. But something happens moments after the child comes into the world. Naveed, do you remember? The umbilical cord was cut. Our connection, the child's connection to another human being, was severed. Naveed, what does the child do almost seconds later? Cry. Does it seek out a connection again? Yes. Now they have a payment for skin-to-skin contact after the baby comes out. We need to pay for it. But what does the child do right away? It latches on. What I'm trying to get you to understand and realize is that we come into the world connected, and the moment that connection is cut, the baby seeks out another connection. Another connection. Almost in its DNA, it needs another connection. Baby is chilling, man. 2 years pass. Naveed, something else happens after 2 years. We have to wean the child off breast milk. And everyone loses sleep. And now the child has to learn a new way of connection. So we're going to get a little bit academic. Is that okay? All right. I want to talk about the social brain theory. I need you to stick with me on this one. So, the social brain theory was a theory that was developed by Robin Dunbar. And the social brain theory forced the scientific world to reconsider how they defined intelligence. The social brain theory considers complex communication to be the key element of forming well-bonded human networks. I want to go back here for a moment, and I want you to see this. This is what we want, connection. Connection is our objective. It's something we all need. Social brain theory is interesting because what it teaches us is that what makes us so special as human beings is that we can connect in a deeper way than other species. And the reason we can connect in a deeper way is because of our ability to communicate in a deeper way. I don't want to lose you here because this is an extremely important point to the entire concept of deep listening within Islam. And so humans bond in a manner far deeper than other creatures because we can communicate in a deep way, in a very complex way. And if we look at the Islamic understanding of the human being, the human in Islam was called hayawan an-natiqa. Hayawan an-natiqa, which means the speaking animal. And so the idea here, the idea here is for us to understand that Robin Dunbar's theory was basically that why are we so different? We're different because we create deep connections. Let me make it simple for you. Lizards don't care about their grandma lizard. Lizards don't care about grandma lizard. There's no concept. There's no deeper bonds. How's my mother-in-law doing? The one lizard asked the other. No, it never happened. Because human beings create these deep bonds across our relationships. We're far different than other creatures. But here's the thing, this is where it gets beautiful. How did we evolve, according to Dunbar's theory, to become a species that had such deep bonds? It's because of our communication ability. Surah Rahman, Allamahu al-Bayan. It is our ability to speak that makes us so different. But here, let's go deeper. Are you ready? Dunbar said, there's something more to it that made us special. It's our ability to think about the unspoken realities or the feelings of the other person that really sets us different. What this means is that I'm able to think right now, not about what you say to me, but what you guys are feeling in the room right now. As I look at you, as I look at him, I'm not thinking about what you said to me. But as a human being, I'm able to actually process what you're thinking about. So let's take a look at this. We have a lot of children, right? Small children in the room, right? There's something called false belief. When children are very young, here's an experiment. You guys ready for the experiment? Okay. So we place a child who's about 3 years old in front of a screen or a TV of some sort, right? And we show them the following thing in front of them. We show them a child, another child, or adult, doesn't matter, looking at a toy, holding an item, and placing the item into a box. Follow, stay with me. The person, after placing the item, leaves the room. Another person enters the room, clearly a different person. They pick up the item and they place it into another box. And they leave. And the first person comes back in. And now we ask a question. We ask the child a question. Where will the person look for the item? Did you get the study? Do you get the process? What would we say? Where will the child or the person look for the item? The first box. Young children, before they develop the cognitive capacity for false belief, they will always say where it actually is. Because they can't yet understand that a person could think something other than reality. Are you following? This is extremely important. Yes?
So you're saying that for us to answer the first box, it's a learned, because we've learned,
We have developed at a young age the ability to understand that the person doesn't know what I know. And they have their own reality. This is very important. Why? Can I give you an example? I'm going to ask you first. Can you think of any Islamic hadith ruling that is based on perception of people, not reality? Ibrahim? So everything's based on reality, what actually happened? I like that. I was looking for something different, but that's good. No, that's good. Can I give you one? 3 brothers are sitting down talking, sitting amongst each other. And 2 of them start to speak a different language that the third doesn't know. Is this permissible? Hold on now. Why is it impermissible? So I have to include someone in everything I talk about? Why is it impermissible, Brian?
Because you wouldn't want to give that person the impression that you're speaking about them.
That's it. But are we talking about them? We're not. But why is the religion stopping us? The reality is that we're not talking about them. That's the reality. So why did the prophet prevent it? It's because, and this is the connection, what makes us human is our ability to think about the feelings of the other person, irrespective of the reality of it. So what I'm trying to, let me make it really simple for you. You say to your son after 20 years of raising him, son, I've always loved you. And he goes, it never felt like it. What things matters more, the feeling of it or what you actually did? Are you with me? The feeling of it. So do you feel loved from me? Yes, Dad, I feel loved. All right, cool. And the example is amazing because the prophet says 2 people should not whisper excluding the other person. It's not because they actually are talking about the other person. It's because of the perception that the other person may have inside. And so a sign of our development and growth, or what makes us human, is not just the ability to communicate, but it's this ability to understand other people's feelings that could be actually counter to what reality is. Questions or comments on this? I have another example, because I really want you to see this as a sunnah of our Prophet ﷺ. Yes?
When the Prophet ﷺ was speaking to one of his wives and he to Sahaba.
Yes, I was literally going to say that next. The Prophet ﷺ one day is leaving the masjid with his wife. It's the middle of the night. There's no street lights. It's dark out. Can't make people out really well. He's walking with his wife and 2 companions walk past. And as they pass, the Prophet ﷺ pauses, turns around, and he looks at them and he says, excuse me, you 2. This is my wife, Safiya. And they said, oh, we would never think such a thing. And the Prophet ﷺ said, no. Shaitan runs through our blood. Shaitan, I have to deal with not reality, but what you may perceive. But that requires your emotional investment and your thinking on a deeper level of the person. Are you with me? It requires you to dig deeper. It requires you to go a little deeper and actually think. He had to actually think about those Sahaba. How might they be assessing this situation? And that's what he did. Questions or comments? Yes?
Doesn't that make it a little bit more stressful on us to always think about what might she think?
There's a limit to it. I agree.
Where do we know where to draw the line, though?
That's a good question. I think some of us are plagued with that more than others. Overthinking, thinking abundantly about what others are thinking about could be problematic, definitely.
Because I'm raising my kids to do what Allah thinks is right.
Yes.
Don't think about what other people might think if you know that.
No. One thing is not to think about what others think, is to change your action based on that. So if I'm praying in public, of course I'm aware of what other people may be thinking. But that's not going to stop me from praying. And I'm not going to let that overcome or overpower me. I'm just giving an example. But are we oblivious to what people are thinking? No. Of course we're aware of what they're thinking. But that's not going to change my action. So the capacity to be aware of other people's thinking is a capacity we should have. That doesn't mean it's always going to regulate your action or not. Make sense? Okay. So the reason I brought this up is when we talk about deep listening, and that's the topic of the next book, is deep listening. When we talk about deep listening means that a person moves beyond the spoken words to focus on what a person feels and believes. That's what we're talking about deep listening specifically. I'm reading directly from the book. It requires us to stop focusing on the facts and concentrate on the subjective reality of the person that we are interacting with. Okay, I've lost you, so I'm going to get you back. Amr bin As. The Prophet sent him on a mission. He comes back to the masjid. When he comes back to the masjid, he asked the Prophet a strange question. He said to the Prophet ﷺ, "Man ahabba an-nasa ilayka ya Rasulullah." Who do you love the most, O Prophet of Allah? Are you ready? Now you know the rest. What did the Prophet ﷺ say? Aisha. Then what did Amr bin As say? Abdullah bin Amr bin As? He goes, who else? Who's next? No, I know I'm up there on the list. So who's next, Ya Rasulullah? He goes, her father. He goes, who's next? Who's next? Who's next? Who's next? He named this long list of people. What was the subjective understanding of this man asking the question? What did he think? What did he think first? He was the top of the list. But was he really? No. When he was asked, the Prophet kept it real. He explained, no. The top of the list is Aisha. But the people around him felt. And that's what I'm trying to communicate to you at this point. It's what people around you feel. Now with him, it's quite different than us. Because the people around us feel not loved. So we're trying to make them feel loved. The people around him felt so loved that they thought they were at the top of the list. But that was okay. Are you with me? And so what I want you to get from this particular narration is an understanding that he allowed and wanted people to feel loved and even feel that they were the most beloved, even if they actually weren't. And that's okay. Questions or comments? No? All right, let's come forward, inshallah. Okay, so when it comes to the complexity of human beings, where's my mouse? Okay. The beginning of the last slide with Robin Dunbar's theory of social brain theory. Oh, someone had a question? Oh, yes.
Your last comment about
The perceived.
yeah. So taking into now socially complex beings, but taking into like the social complexity of where we live, and you alluded to earlier, south versus north, where a little bit more buttoned up, a little bit more uptight, and then that translates into kind of like our interactions with the people around us.
Yes.
And it's kind of hard to break the person's shell and build, that type of
Rapport and connection.
yeah, that type of love and possibilities and so on shows other people. So how do we build the habits within us to be able to do that given the social and cultural complexities that we live in?
So let me reiterate the question to make sure I understand. You're saying, as I mentioned before, different places have different temperaments. And so being from the Northeast in America, the temperament is different than, say, the South. And so the question is, living where I live, how do I, connect to people on a deeper level up here? It's a hard question to answer. I think every place has its own language, its own customs, its own norms. And I think closeness doesn't have to look the same in each place. So our closeness to someone in our neighborhood or our masjid here may look different than it does look in another country, for example, in their masajid, in their communities. So I don't know, I don't have a question right off the top. Let me think on it a bit more, inshallah ta'ala. Okay, let's go forward. One of the things I was talking about was that we are socially complex creatures, and that complexity demands a very complex language that keeps us all connected. And that's why listening is such a key aspect of who we are. So when we talk about us being socially complex, I just want to make sure everyone understands what that means. What that means is this: within one person. So let's take Ibrahim. Ibrahim, you married? Okay, Ibrahim. So Ibrahim, throughout his life, now he's been a son for some time. You have siblings? He's been a brother, right? That's one hat he wears. You're a husband. And you're going to have children, inshallah ta'ala. So these are three different functions that Ibrahim is going to play or have. And so when we talk about socially complex beings, what that means is that we don't always have one role to play. We play multiple roles. And that level of interaction, you walk into a home, and especially our homes that are multi-generational and multifaceted. You walk into the home, and at the same time you walk into the home, not only are you a son, but you're also a father, and you're also a husband, and you're also a this, and you're also a that. You're a daughter-in-law, you're a wife, you're all of these things at the same time. Why am I bringing that up? It's because our ability, what this theory basically says is that the reason we've evolved as such different species, one of the ways we evolved differently is that we have these very dynamic families. Right? And a sign of our evolution was the ability to have these large families in which people played multiple roles. And so what it basically says is the push for individualism and the push to just be by yourself and to be an island is actually devolving. What makes us so different is the fact that we stay together and we have these very dynamic relationships all at one time. But I will say this: if we don't emotionally invest in each relationship, it can have catastrophic impact on the people within those networks. So I just highlighted, this is one of the things that I talk about in detail in the book, just about a member's position within a family over time. Okay, so here's where we get into the good stuff, okay? How did the Prophet ﷺ literally now cause the change in society that he made? The Prophet ﷺ emotionally invested in the people that he was interacting with. When that connection was established, they developed trust and security. I want you to write these two words down: trust and security. The objective, the goal of connection is trust and security. He shaped people by connecting to them. Now, attachment theory. Let's talk about this. I want everyone to imagine you're at the playground. You're at the playground with one of these little ones, okay? And you're at the playground. 3-year-old son, daughter. You're sitting on the bench. Every now and then, your son is running off, playing. What does the son or daughter do every 30, 40 seconds? Look back. Looks back. And as the child keeps looking back at you, what are they testing? What are they making sure? They're making sure that you're there. What attachment theory teaches us, this is very critical for our Islamic understanding. Please listen closely. What attachment theory teaches us is that from the moment we come into this world, as I mentioned before, we are seeking connection to another person. Now, early attachment theorists, they thought that human beings desire physical proximity to other secure bases. That means other people. But we've moved on from that. For the last 40, 50 years, we've understood something that the Prophet ﷺ understood a long time ago. Naveed, when your kid has a nightmare in the middle of the night, where do they run? To your room. Animals, when they get scared, they seek shelter in place. Humans seek shelter and protection in people. It's very important to understand. Humans seek shelter in other people. Attachment theory tells us that from the moment we come into this world, from little children all the way up, we're always seeking proximity to people. We need closeness. Now here's the deal. I really need you to connect to this. As you're sitting at the park watching this child, if the child looks back and sees that you're present, not physically present, emotionally present, then the child gains two things that are very critical to its development: trust and security. Trust and security. What do I mean by that? Tell me, what do you think I mean by that? Like how? The child looks back and sees you there. It gains trust and security. What does that mean to you? That they know you're there to protect them. What about security? Okay, any threats you're there. What is the effect? Tell me the effect of knowing and trusting that you're secure. What's the effect of that? Comfortable. Comfortable doing what? Exploring. Going further. So in the beginning, the child goes 5 feet and keeps looking back. But once the child learns, now a lot of people in this room are like, I'm not a father, bro, get to the good stuff. Just wait, trust me. Trust me, this is epic. But as the child learns that you're there, what do I mean by there? Physically present?
No, paying attention.
Emotionally present. The child gains security and trust. What's the effect of it? It goes further. It goes further. It goes further. To the point where maybe this young child can disappear from your sight for a minute or two and not be scared because it knows that you're there. Are you with me? So, attachment theory said this. Human beings are born weak. We come into the world, we can't even lift up our neck. We can't walk for the first 2 years. A horse comes out galloping, like, ooh, I'm ready. Hey, mom, I don't need you. But human beings need other people. So they send signals out. They cry. The child can't do anything but cry. I know you're wondering, how does this connect? We're in a mustard shake. Connect this to my deen. Trust me. Go with the flow. Trust me. You'll see the connection. The child can only cry. Now, mothers, fathers, 16-month child. Can you tell the difference of a cry for food and diaper and irritability? Can you tell the difference? Yes, you can. One cry, but you now know the language. You know how to respond. Attachment theory taught this. We desire proximity to another human being. So we send out signals. Cry, make noise, something. With the hope that someone will do what? Respond. Respond. Once we get responses, we start to trust. What do we trust? We trust that someone will respond and someone will be there for us. Are you with me? We trust that someone will respond and be there for us. There it is right there. It's going to get serious, Brian. Watch this. What I want you to get is this. I'm going to go forward real quick. This one. The father sitting on the park bench, theorists call him the secure base. The secure base is, you ever play tag with base? The further you get away from base, the more dangerous it is. But when there's a good attachment that is built, you understand that the secure base is always there. There. Mikaeel, what's the connection? You grow up now. You're not 3 years old anymore. You've been responded to all the time. Whenever you called mom, she was there. Whenever you called dad, they were there. Whenever you called your older sister, they were there. You start to realize that your secure bases never leave you. They're always there for you. You're able to explore, go to college, get a job, this and that. Because you know there's always someone there for me. Now, Here's the Islamic connection if you haven't seen it yet. Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam, what was his relationship, Ibrahim, with his father? He loved him. I mean, there's no one in the room that would doubt there was love there. That is a key focal point of the Quranic narrative of that story. Joseph finds himself in a fitna later in life. وَلَقَدْ هَمَّتْ بِهِ وَهَمَّ بِهَا. He found himself in a fitna, Zulayka seducing him. The Quran says, وَلَقَدْ هَمَّتْ بِهِ وَهَمَّ بِهَا لَوْلَا إِذْ رَأَىٰ بُرْهَانَ رَبِّهِ. He thought of it, she thought of it as well. Listen closely, if it wasn't for the fact that he saw a sign from God. Wow. The Quran is saying that he almost fell into this fitna, but he saw a sign of God. A sign of God. That must be like a lightning bolt came down into the room and psh, better not do that. Or there must have been an angel that just flew in and was like behind Zuleika like, don't do it. Do you know what Ibn Abbas says the sign of God was? He saw a vision of his father. He saw a vision of his father. Was his father there in that moment? No. He was way over in another place. But was his father able to provide him with guidance? Was the image of his father able to guide him in that moment? Yes. Why? Because the bond had been formed for many years. And the Quran, this is the crazy part, the Quran calls that vision of his father a sign of God. Do you get how profound that is? It's the bond and connection. I don't know if you get it, man. I was talking to a counselor. He works with recidivism. People trying to stop from going back to prison and drug addiction. I shared this same story with him. And he was almost in tears. And you know what he said? He said, Sheikh, I have a client who told me last week that he was headed back to the drug house. He was headed back to the drug house to re-up. And he said, I heard your voice in my ear telling me, no, we don't do that. Stay strong. And I turned around and I didn't go. What I'm trying to show you is that we desire attachment to people, not physical. It doesn't matter if you're holding the child. Holding is not the objection. Physical proximity does nothing if the emotional absence is there. You all know too well somebody on the phone next to you. You might as well not even be here. Physical proximity is not the set goal of the attachment system. The attachment system desires someone to respond to it. When it receives that, it develops within itself secure attachment models. It knows people will respond. And whoever was its secure base will always provide connection. Questions or comments? Because we're going to go a lot deeper here, but questions up till now, please.
Is this what made the Prophet different, where that was Allah?
So he says, is this what makes the Prophet different? Because his secure base was Allah. No. No. In a scary moment, where did our beloved Prophet Muhammad run to? Secure base. Oh, his wife, not a sign of weakness. He ran to her, I'm scared, out of my wits. And she says, talk to me. Talk to me. Tell me what you saw. Talk to me. And he tells her, and she says, don't worry. Is he telling her, don't worry? She's telling him, don't worry. Don't worry, you're okay. You're okay. You're okay. So was the prophet something different? We all need people. We all need people. I'm going to come back to that though, because I have something I put in the book that I think is very important for us to think over. If there's anybody that leveled up because of an acquaintance, it's Harun for sure. Aaron, the brother of Moses, that was a level up. Like, yo, you upgraded me big time, bro. Moses had a mission. But he's like, I can't do it alone. Ya Allah, send my brother. Allah's like, all right, he's a prophet too. Yo, good looks, bro. You just leveled me up big time, bro. Big time. Okay, listen. The question is, if we fail to be present parents, and I know a lot of you are like, I'm already past this stage. I will bring it to everyone's level, I promise you. But what's at stake if we are not present parents? And by now you understand it is not physical proximity, but emotional proximity. What is at stake here? Can you tell me before I hit the next slide? Oh, yes, young men. What's up? Whose kid is this? Okay, the trust and connection of the child to you. Yeah, you're right. There's no trust. There's no trust. There's more. We're going to come back to that. What else is at stake? I thought he was going to really get the point. Passing on. This is what you said, but I'm going to take you further. Passing on transgenerationally the inability to connect to others and Allah. Whoa, Shaykh. I understand how I may pass on the inability to connect to others. But how to Allah? So here we go. Attachment theory tells us this. The child who was responded to learns security and attachment. It learns that someone will be there to respond to me. It learns that I deserve to be loved and I'm worthy of love. The child who was not responded to learns one of two things. I shouldn't connect to anyone because no one's going to respond to me. Or, I'm not worthy of being responded to. So here we go, listen closely. An emotionally unpresent father or mother can create a child who has difficulty connecting and trusting to Allah. Why should Allah love me? No one's ever loved me. Why should I trust Allah? I've never trusted anyone. So, a person's inability to connect to Allah often has to do with the closest people to their lives. They weren't able to connect to them. A lot of people aren't angry with God, they're angry with their dad, their mother. The khatib says, trust Allah. The person says, I never trusted anyone. There was no one there. So what we have to understand is that there's a lot at stake here. There's a lot at stake here. Passing on the inability to connect to self, others, and Allah. The inability to connect is transgenerational. I hope everyone understands what that means. Man la yarham la yurham. There's a hadith where the Prophet ﷺ, he said, whoever does not show mercy will not be shown mercy. What does that mean? Can I tell you what it means? There are two times in life that we truly only desire connection to others. When we're little like that and when we're really old. Here's what I think this hadith means. If you never showed connection to your small children, don't expect them to show connection to you when you get old. Where will they have learned that from? They won't. So it begins with you showing love, connecting. Now, no one's asked the question, No one's asked a question yet, so I'm going to say it. Does that mean it's over for me if my father and mother never showed me love? No, it doesn't. Let's look at Umar radiallahu anhu. Umar says verbatim, my father was abusive, he worked the heck out of me. And he became a very rough person. But it was his connection with the Prophet that made him soft. So now, up till now, half of you in the room have been like, I'm not a dad yet, I'm not a mom yet. It doesn't matter. My connection with Ibrahim can teach him to love again. My connection with him can teach him, you're worthy of love, bro. Your connection with Brian can make Brian a new man. Probably already has. Go Brian, exactly. So what I'm trying to tell you, this is not over. This is not over. What matters right now is your ability and willingness to connect to another person. And say, bro, what do you need? I'm here for you. Talk to me. To say as a wife, I'm here for you. What do you need? I'm here for you all the time. And so remember this. I'm going to fast forward real quick. I'm so sorry. Oh, I skipped it. I don't know where it is. Who cares? Hear me out. Human beings, stop reading ahead, please. Okay. Human beings are made of clay. Allah tells us in the Quran we are made of clay. That's because other people shape us. Other people shape us. So don't lay back on, oh, my father this, my mother that. No. You have a responsibility to learn to love again. You need to surround yourself with people who will show you that you deserve to be loved, and you can learn to love again and connect to people again. Questions or comments?
How do we go about that? Like, what would be the first step? Like, if today you wanted to leave here and just decide, I'm going to find somebody that will love me,
Yeah, that's a hard one, sister. No. So I see your hand around another sister, okay? And that means you're connected, right? That's your mother, okay. MashaAllah. Amazing, okay. I look like sisters, mashallah. So listen, we don't know who we will encounter in life. At the age I have reached, I only have one or two people that are that close to me, that I completely can talk to and let help heal me and be there for me. Anytime I call or text, they'll be there for me. When we were 20 years old, we wanted 20 friends, 40 friends, 50 friends. When you get to our age, you realize I just need one or two close people that will be there for me. It may be a spouse, it may not. It may be a sibling. But we all do need other people. And this brings me back to what he said about the Prophet ﷺ. Hold on 1 second. Here. On page 70, on page, yes, there it is. On page 61. On page 61, here's a solution. I'm going to help you right now become practical on what we've talked about. On page 61, you're going to see these circles of relationships. Circles of relationships. The problem here, and when I tell you the problem, that means I'm telling you the solution too. The problem is that many of us are investing most of our time and efforts on the furthest outest circles. This circle is the closest circle to you. It is the circle of all vulnerability. At its core, it's only you and Allah. Right outside that is maybe two people, one person, maybe max. And then it expands bigger and bigger and bigger. My advice to you is that you need to move from the external circles to the inner circle. And if we spend all of our time on the inner circle, you won't be questioned on the day of judgment for these external circles. They don't matter in life. They do not matter in life. This is the circle that you will be questioned for on the day of judgment. So direct your attention and focus inward. And so, if we start that first, fathers, mothers, brothers, siblings, if you got little brothers, man, Why are you on the internet spending all your time out there? You got someone really close to you that no one else can fill that gap except you. What are you doing? What are you doing? Spend your time there. Now, how do I become a better listener? Next page I want you to look at is the page 60. How do I become a better listener? How do I get closer to people? 81, please. 81. You see this? Breath of self-disclosure. Breath of self-disclosure. When a relationship is growing, there are 3 things I want you to focus on. Breadth, frequency, depth. When a relationship is breaking up, the topics become narrow, shallow, and very seldom. So your job to get closer to somebody, like imagine I said to Ibrahim in the hallway, yo Ibrahim, how you doing, son? What's going on? I'm like, yeah, my wife giving me issues. He's gonna be like, dang bro, like I just met you, baby. But then he might reciprocate the depth, like, oh really? Wow, I know what it's like. So depth is a sign of us getting closer. And it actually be really weird to walk up to a random dude on the subway and be like, yeah, my mom is like, whoa, I don't know you like that. So one of the ways that we want to grow relationships is depth of self-disclosure. To husbands and fathers and brothers, what I would say is allow yourself to open up and be vulnerable to the closest to you. To the closest to you. Allow yourself to be more frequent in that and allow yourself to go deeper in those communications. And that's going to be one way where how we become better listeners and become closer to people. Your question is a deep question, sister. I strive not for quantity of relationships, but quality. And so that means as we get older, we may just have a few core people, that we can let out 90.98% of what is truly inside, let out. But that 100%, now here's where the God factor comes in. The one who knows you at your core, it's Allah. And that's when you raise your hand and you just are not holding anything back anymore. But you're gonna need people in this journey. We're not created in a way to walk it alone. Okay? Yes? Yeah, can I add to this, sister? Listen, I was with Abdurrahman Murphy this weekend, in class, and we were talking about a father. There was a father who had said, yeah, I kind of messed up with my kids. But here's the deal. The kids are alive and he's alive. She's smiling because she gets the point. Are your children still alive? Yes, they're 20, 30. Are they still alive? Yes. Are you still alive? You got work to do, but you could do it. Do you understand? So one thing I want to highlight before I get to your question is there's relationships that I did not do. I didn't hear this lecture before. I didn't think about it. I was grinding. I was trying to make money for the family. Okay, cool. Are you alive? Yes. Is your son or daughter still alive? Yes. Text them right now. Check this right now. Everyone, take out your phone. Take out your phone. Oh, mine is not here. I need my phone. Take it out, Ibrahim. Take it out. Come on, bro, come on. You're either going to text your son, your daughter, or your mother or your father. No, don't do group. No group messages. You're going to type this right now. You ready? Come on, you got to do it. You're going to text this person. Nate, wait, no, there's no one? Huh. You're going to say, you ready? Hi, blank. Assalamu alaikum, blank. Just thinking about you. I love you so much, I may not have said it enough. Yes, everything's okay. Say, yes, everything's okay. I'll hit you up later, I'll talk to you later. Send a message right now. Make sure it sounds like you, though. Do it? Why not? You have someone you can send it to? No one? Okay, talk machine. Everyone else did it? am I telling you to do this? Brian, how long did that take? Did you just send the message across the hall? How long did that take? Very quick, very deep, very vulnerable, quality over quantity. This is how we build those relationships. This is how we build that. Quick, simple. It doesn't take much. It just takes the presence of mind. Sophia, did you do it? What's up? She's right next to you. What time is it? It's 34. We're going to go for about 15 more minutes or so, but I really want to take questions, inshallah. Yes?
In terms of, sharing your feelings and connecting with the kids, I mean, I'm just coming from my culture, the Desi culture, we don't shy from saying it, we just kind of sometimes do it too much. So how do you...
Do what, show up?
Meaning, like, we connect too much and then the kids were like,
No, that's okay. I'd rather connect too much than too little.
Okay, so that's not, there's no...
No, that's beautiful.
Okay.
No, that's beautiful, man. That's beautiful. Yes.
I have the same question like him. We do, and then we have to hear that you are doing too much. Others don't do. They feel shy. Like, don't come to my school. Don't come to the playground. Don't sit here. Like
Yeah,
that.
she got my
The same thing. Like we are too connected.
Those people, those adults, I know, you're at a good place to be. Excuse me. Oh, I'm sorry. She said that the complaint I often receive from my children is I'm too loving of them. I'm too present. I'm too much there. It's a good problem to have. They'll grow up and realize how much they love it. They'll grow up and realize how much they miss that. Alhamdulillah. That's a great problem to have. Alhamdulillah. Yes?
What if you are in a position where your closest relationships are the ones that censure you constantly?
Are they relationships you can get out of or no? Well, I mean, it takes some counseling, and those people need to sit with you, with someone else, and discuss the difficulties that are going on. We can't live our lives with those toxic relationships without addressing those things. So,
Those are the ones that think they don't need the counseling.
yeah, I know. The question is, like, my most core relationships are the most toxic ones, and they're ones that I can't get out of. And we need those people to read the book. You got to buy the book, send it to them. You know what I mean? We need them to realize how important this is. And so she was asking me, what do we do if those are the relationships that we have, are our core relationships? And I said that we need to sit those people down and have serious dialogue and conversations with them. I think we would have to talk personally, inshallah, just for the intimacy of the situation. But those people definitely need to sit down and have a conversation with us. Because we're going to be living with these people the rest of our lives. Especially if they're our closest relationships, then these are things that need to be discussed, and brought out to the open. Yes, sister. How do you clear that though? Please explain. Like, how do you clear that charge, so to speak?
Right, so let's just say the person every time, like, for an example, every time I'm around the person, it's like always negative. Like, it's like, oh,
Got it.
you're always dressing in such bright colors, or why you got this on? Oh my gosh, and I'm like really a good Muslim. Like, so it's like judgmental, right?
Yes,
So
yes.
I come into the space, and it's just like, how do I, for like a 15-minute, or like, how to not just avoid completely to like,
Yeah. Yeah, let me help you with that. No, you don't have to change you. Listen, Bismillah. So, the only thing I can think of in this moment right now, I have to think over it more, is when the Prophet ﷺ was forced to re-look at or choose to re-analyze the things he was encountering from people. Let me give an example. they started to make fun of the Prophet ﷺ a lot, and they called him a derogatory name, Mudamma. Okay? And one day he walks into a group of companions, and he's smiling, he's very happy. You know the story? He's very happy. And then they say, "You're very happy, Ya Rasulullah, what's going on?" And he says, "Look at how Allah has turned away the curses of the Quraysh from me. They're making fun of some other person, and I am this person. They're making fun of Muhammad, and I am Muhammad." Now, does the Prophet actually know who they're talking about? Of course he does. He knows who they're addressing. But he's making a conscious decision to interpret it in a way that is good for his mental health and well-being. And I think that just speaks volumes of so many interactions that I have that are not healthy, that I just have to be like, "Oh wow, look at this," and say it in the right way to myself. Okay, I have one more thing I really want to talk about that I talk about in the book. We only have about 20 more minutes or so, and so I want to make sure I cover this content, okay? So we're done with attachment theory. In the book I talk about we're made from clay, so realize that you have an impact on other people. All right, Ibn Qayyim al-Jawzi is a great scholar from our history, and he has a book called Madarij al-Salikin. And in that book, he highlights 3 levels of listening. 3 levels of listening. And I want to go over those with you right now for the remaining 15 minutes or so. Level 1, but before that, he says listen. He goes, listening is the foundation of faith. It's the foundation of our intellect and the foundation of our faith. You should already understand how listening is the foundation of the faith, because I explained to you how a present parent impacts a child's ability to connect to the deen. Okay? So he says it's the foundation of your mind and it's the foundation of faith. There are many verses in the Quran that I highlight this fact on. But he says, here we go, listening level 1. He says this isn't even listening with the ears. He goes, this isn't even listening. You heard sounds, you didn't get to meaning. You heard sounds, you didn't get to meaning. You could listen to the most beautiful poetry in a foreign language, and it just sounds like sounds. But the moment you're able to translate those words to meaning, beauty occurs. Beauty is found. So what does that teach you? Once you're able to understand people, you're able to now see the beauty in what's being communicated. The second level of listening is listening for understanding. I'm listening to get what you're saying. I know that under words is meaning and emotion. My wife says to me, she doesn't say this, all right, but let's pretend. She goes, Mikaeel, you're never around. You're never around. So I pull out my calendar and I highlight the days that I have been around, and they are more than the days I have not been around. I'm a fool. Some of us in the room are like, no, that sounds logical. Some of us in the room are like, no, that's perfectly what you should do. That's because you've misunderstood what you're never around means. It simply means, I wish I could spend more time with you. So now, she says, you're never around, Naveed. You don't answer, you go and hug. And she goes, oh, you understood me. Do you understand? What I'm trying to highlight here is, a simple example, Naveed, is, seemed like that trust struck a chord there, right? And Naveed's like, stop, stop, stop. We're never calling you back to Sharon ever again. Okay. The point I'm trying to say is many of us, we communicate to the word level without going beneath the word and understanding and talk to the meaning. Always talk to the meaning. Have you ever been in an argument with a child or a spouse when you're arguing about words and in reality the meanings are being missed completely? Because you're not focusing on meaning. Focus on meaning and discuss meaning, no matter what a person is saying. A child comes in, I don't feel like praying. It's not what they're saying. They're saying something else. Get to the meaning. Get to the meaning. What are they actually saying? Listening to respond. Most of us feel that listening to respond is something that you shouldn't do, and it's right. You don't hold your breath. We were just talking about that. You're not listening, waiting for your chance to speak. Ibn Qayyim al-Jawzi, he means something different. Listen closely. He says that if you've understood, you need to reciprocate back. Listen, right now, your energy in this room, your glances, your nod, all of that has been a response to everything I said. The slight gesture his head just made right now told me, keep going, you're making sense. Right? The small smile you made right now told me, yes, I agree with that. If you were not here, if you were just to look at me and not make a move like most Northeasterns do when I'm speaking to them. Anyways, so this guy converted in Texas, okay? And, the halakha was fire, man. I was dropping gems, yo. And the dude at the end, he comes up to me. He goes, yo, shit, I just converted, and I noticed these people don't really get into it. I was like, what do you mean? He was like, there's a few times when you were speaking, and I felt like, hallelujah. Amen. Woo, yeah. I was like, yeah, Muslims, they're a bit uptight, they just keep it all in, So anyways, so we had the problem in Texas too, so it's all good. The point is feedback is what we need. And Ibn Taymiyyah Josie is telling you that if you want a relationship to grow, it can't be linear communication. You can't leave me unread, as the youngsters say. You got to respond. You got to give me something back. And so what I want to talk to you about is this. I only have a little bit of time left, but I want to talk about this. The response is the transactional side to it. This has not been linear. I have felt so much energy from you right now. Even though I'm talking, I've got so much from you. It's transactional. Even the slightest lean in tells me so much. All of our relationships with ourselves, others, and Allah need to be transactional. It's not one way. They all need to be transactional. Now, you may be like, okay, I understand transactional communication with other people. What about Allah and what about self? Well, let's talk about those. I'm going to go through each one of these. Should we start with Allah? Let's start with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How, when the Sahaba describe how the Prophet read Quran, they say that as he would read Quran, he would respond to what he was reading. Let me give an example. They say whenever he would read a verse that talked about Jannah, he would stop and he would say, oh Allah, please give me that. And whenever he would read a verse about hellfire, he would stop and he would say, oh Allah, please protect me. I can never forget the first time I was praying and the Imam reads, Alaysa Allahu bi ahkamil hakimin, and the guy next to me goes, Bala wa ana ala dhalika min ash-shahidin. I was like, whoa, we could talk here, we could dialogue here. Well, what you don't realize is that Allah asked a question in that verse. Allah asked a question, and if someone asks you a question, what do? You respond. So for many of us, and I understand you're like, oh, I don't understand language, Arabic, read English. Why aren't you reading the Quran in a language you understand? How long are you going to do that for? How are you going to do that for? You're going to never read the Quran in the language you understand for your whole life? Okay, that's smart. No, read it in what you understand so you can respond to Allah. And so that teaches us something. How does Allah force us to have a transactional relationship with Him in the Quran? Questions. Questions. Oh, wow. So how do I form a transactional relationship and communication with my son? I ask questions. How was your day? How did that make you feel? I was studying this stuff and writing this book. And I got on the plane and there was this lady sitting next to me. And I'm learning this stuff because I'm writing on it. And I'm like, you know what? Let's see if this stuff works. I didn't hear her stop talking until 3 hours later. And I just kept going, yeah, really, wow. What did you feel about that? Tell me more. Is that how you felt? Wow, interesting. And she just kept going and going. And she got off the plane like, wow, that was so amazing. Thank you for listening to me. All I did was ask questions with genuine concern. I wasn't playing a game, okay? With genuine concern. How was school today? What was it like? What did you feel? What was going on? Da 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 da. So Allah asks us questions. This is a way we're going to take our relationship to a deeper level. We're going to ask questions. Right? Okay. Self. Does asking questions apply to self as well? Absolutely. I'm so angry today. I'm so angry today. Why am I angry today? Why am I frustrated? Why is this lecture not clicking for me today? Why don't I feel his vibes? I don't get it. Everyone else is feeling it. I ain't feeling it. Why? Question the self. And that is where I'm going to give you something that's going to help you. Start journaling. Start journaling. The paper, the empty paper is such a beautiful tool because it accepts whatever you put on it without judging you. It just takes it. And even better than that, read over what you wrote. You're like, oh my God, that was me 5 minutes ago? I don't even know who that is. A lot of listening is about being a blank canvas for others to hear themselves. I just need you to hear you, and you will solve your problems. Have you ever talked to somebody and at the end say, now that I say it, that's what you're becoming for other people. The now that I say it. So journaling is going to help us a lot. Asking ourselves questions. How did I feel today? What makes me this way? Why am I upset? Da, da, da. This is how you're going to build that transactional relationship with yourself. This is how you're going to build that transactional relationship with others. And with Allah, you are going to respond to Allah. Respond to Allah. Respond when He asks you to do something. Now, response is sometimes physical. It's sometimes, like there's a place in the Quran where Allah tells us to do a sajda. What's the response? Do a sajda. Right? There's other places where Allah tells us to do dhikr. Remember me. You do dhikr. So respond to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when He asks us to respond. Alright, and I think, guys, that's it for today. Yes, let's talk. Yeah. I think that's a great tool. Don't let nobody hear it though. Yeah, I think that's a great tool. I think verbal journaling is great. Just make sure you lock and key that stuff up. I don't know why you're getting that. Yeah, delete it. Get it off your chest. Emails that you never send are the best emails you ever write. Yeah.
So I think some point in the lecture we discussed about people change, right? And I have invested in relationships that have been long ones. Except for the...
Somebody as a kid got a microphone. Oh, okay.
Right?
My bad.
So sometimes you feel you are not dealing with the same person anymore whom you have, lived your life with, apart from your family members.
Yeah. No, everyone should be allowed time to change and grow and become different people, but go ahead.
Yeah, but how do you keep that connection going?
So grow with them and let them grow. See, that's another thing I talk about in the book is by continually talking to people, you allow them the space to grow and mature in life. The worst thing you can do is meet someone who knew you from high school and thinks you're the same person. It's the worst thing. I've grown in my spirituality, I've grown in my intellectualism, I've grown in every way. Allow people room to grow. Yeah. The way I look at listening is listen closely. We have to learn to listen with the people. That's what I write in the book. Listen with people. What that means is as someone's talking to me, they don't always have it figured out. So I'm listening to you with you. I'm listening to you with you. Because sometimes the thoughts we say are the first time I've ever had to put this into words. So it's about being there to walk with people as they explain their experience and show you things. Wow, that's interesting. And you know what I do on the walk? Listening is a walk in the park. Every now and then I'll point to a rock and say, what do you think about that rock? You get it? Do you get the metaphor? Listening is I'm holding your hand. Let's walk. And you're talking to me and I'm seeing what you're seeing. But every now and then I point to something and say, hey, what do you think about that? And this is a beautiful conversation, a beautiful moment where our understandings begin to overlap.
A lot of times, people feel loved when they feel accepted, and you have to compromise your values in order to express acceptance of the totality of a person. So how do you balance advice, guidance, staying true to what you believe with, that unconditional love that people are?
Yeah, this is a great question. It's in the book. I wrote about this in the book. When I'm listening to you, acceptance doesn't mean that I condone everything that you say to me. It means that I want to see how you see it. Okay, I want to see how you see it. I value you enough to want to know how you see certain situations. That doesn't mean that you are objectively right, but it means I validate you. But that doesn't mean you're right. This is so important. This is so important. When I listen closely to a friend, I validate their view of the situation, validate their view. Yes, I see how you see it. But now let me help you see if that's the correct way. Let's talk about that. Do you think that is the best way to see it? What we do is we shut off the validation at first. The moment they start saying something that's not correct, we don't even allow ourselves to see how they see it. So they feel like you haven't listened to me yet. So no, I'm going to listen. I literally want to see this through your perspective. Oh, okay, cool. That's how. And then while they're seeing it, you're like, well, what do you think about that right there, though? What about that? Oh, and sometimes through that process, you can help reform and shape how a lot of modern psychology is about accept you as you. Don't let no one change how you see things. Be true to yourself. Hello, we're Muslims. Be true to Allah. And my own nafs can often be off the track. But the first step is to, there was a boy who accepted Islam, young man. He said, Ya Rasulullah, I'm ready to accept Islam, but you gotta allow me to commit zina. The Sahaba were like, oh my God, stop them, grab him. The Prophet said, son, come on, let's sit down and let's talk. By the end of that conversation, he transformed. So you have to listen to people so that they realize that you value them. Once they realize you value their perspective, perhaps they'll be willing to take some advice on guidance on how they could possibly see this in a different way. Get them to question how they're seeing things. That's cognitive behavioral therapy. Get them to question how they are seeing those things. And maybe they can see it in a different light. Okay, today was a lovely day. I thank you for your attention and your presence. The most sacred gift that any human being can give to another is not money, it is time. Because that's all you are made of. You just gave me 3 hours of your life and I am indebted to you. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Mikaeel will be signing books for those who
Sister, do you have a book? Now you do. Pass this back to her, please.
I want to go to.
Yeah, we'll purchase them outside, inshallah. So, what was I saying? So, Sheikh Mikaeel will be signing books. So, if you'd like to purchase a book, I'll tell you can purchase it, and then we'll make a line here and you can sign a book. He has about an hour before he has to leave. He has another program in Worcester tonight. He'll be teaching us a truncated version of the same class. So, if you'd like to repeat, feel free to head to Worcester. Sheikh, will you close with the dua, inshallah?
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم لك الحمد كله ولك الشكر كله وإليك يرجو الأمر كله والعنة والسر. Allah, we praise you, Ya Allah. We ask you for your guidance, Ya Arhamar Rahimin. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Ya Allah, we ask you to send the best of blessings and peace upon the Prophet Muhammad. Peace and blessings be upon him, Ya Arhamar Rahimin. Ya Allah, we ask you to guide our hearts, Ya Allah. Give us the ability to act upon what we have learned here today, Ya Allah. Give us the ability to emulate your Prophet Sunnah in the best of ways, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, we ask you to bring our families together, Ya Arhamar Rahimin. Ya Allah, we ask you to guide our children and heal their hearts from the damage that we may have caused them, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, we ask you to forgive us for our negligence, Ya Allah. Give us tawfiq to rectify the wrongs that we have maybe done, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, have mercy upon us, our families, our children, our mothers, our fathers, Ya Allah. Those of our family members who have not been guided, Ya Allah, we ask you, we beg of you, Ya Allah, guide their hearts, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, those of our family members who are misguided, Ya Allah, we ask you to, Ya Allah, bring them back to the straight path, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, we ask you to give us hearts that are grateful to you for all of our blessings that you have given us, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, we ask you to make us those who are considered amongst the shakirin and the grateful people, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, whatever we were studying here today, Ya Allah, we did it with the hope of bringing pleasure to you, Ya Allah, by connecting to other people and helping them connect to you, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, we ask you to give us tawfiq or enable us, Ya Allah, to act upon whatever we have learned, Ya Allah. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun. Salamun ala al-mursalin. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.
Sheikh has a medical procedure coming up on Thursday, so he hasn't shared it, but I'm sharing it with you. So maybe go out for him, Allah, make it easy. He can recover smoothly, inshallah, and he visits us soon again, inshallah. So I need some help cleaning up, so the brothers and sisters could please help stack chairs. I need some help cleaning up, so the brothers and sisters could please help us stack chairs. Anyone who's looking to purchase books, Brother Amadou will be outside helping to purchase books, inshallah. And then if anyone would like to get their books signed, please feel free to line up here, inshallah. We'll do you can get your books signed by sharing it. Jazakallah. Finally, please remember the sponsors for the tonight's program in your du'as, HHRD, Dollar Realty, and then the sponsors who help provide lunch today. Inshallah, please remember your du'as. And of course, Sheikh Mikaeel,
just want you to know that, not that it should stop.
There is another one.
This is it. Yeah.